intelligence, some have kinesthetic intelligence, some have naturalistic intelligence. And we can't term all of them, we can't evaluate all of them with that one pen and paper test, that human interaction. And that can solve a lot of misunderstandings. And believe me, it worked.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Great Principles. I am Seema Chodia. I bring to you another iconic figure from the world of Indian academia. Carpe Diem, seize the day, trusting as little as possible in the next one. A person who believes in the value of every moment surely invests wisely through sheer dedication and diligence, and the rewards are always magnificent. Today, my guest is there who strongly adheres to aphorism, and her journey is the manifestation of her efforts. She made the most of each opportunity and support she could garner to be academician with insatiable hunger for learning. From one teacher to another in the family, she found inspiration, expertise, and support in her mother, who is also an educator. Welcome to Great Principles. Today we have with us Mrs. Radhika Srinivasan, Principal, the Sri Ram Universal School, Dombivli, Maharashtra. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Namaste.
Sorry, excuse me. So, ma'am, we all, as I mentioned, that your mother was also a teacher, and it looks like the legacy is being carried on. And you have this remarkable career journey of 2 decades now. So, tell me, ma'am, one thing. Your once upon a time has been like, always seeing your mother being a teacher and getting inspired. So, that thing is like, being growing within you. And now you're also a school leader. So, do you both sit and talk around, like, what happened then and how the things are now, how things have changed? So what we would like to know a little about these conversations between you both.
Surely. So, yes, of course, we do exchange notes. And my mother's journey from being a teacher to a headmistress of the pre-primary section was happening during my growing up years. So, very much I was part of her journey because she didn't start working much before marriage. She started working when I was in college, rather. So her journey was also a part of my growing up years, and I also did see the way she dealt with parents, with students, with her colleagues, with the management members. And some of those lessons have, of course, been invaluable for me as I took on the mantle, and I also rose from being a teacher to a vice principal, and now currently in a principal's role. And yes, these conversations have always been enriching because um, a lot of wisdom, a lot of maturity, and a lot of what should I say, a quick thinking is needed for a principal. You may undergo a lot of leadership training. You may undergo a lot of you may have many certificates to your credit, but quick thinking and sometimes uh, absolutely split second thinking is needed for a principal who sits on the chair. And I think the conversations with my mother have helped me to develop that quality. They've also helped me to be very patient because she's very patient, and I have also imbibed from her this quality of being very impartial and unbiased in my opinions, and not let my judgment cloud my decisions. So these are some of the things that we've discussed. Then and now is a huge change for her. In fact, I would say pre-COVID and post-COVID has been a big change for us. So even we are now comparing pre-COVID to post-COVID days, and how we have the new normal and how we are adapting to it. So of course, there's a vast change in the type of scenario that has been in schools. Um, but yes, these conversations have always been enriching and very positive.
Very well said, ma'am. Sitting on a principal's chairs comes with a whole lot of responsibility because you are people's person, and quick decision making is an essential skill which every leader must have. So tell me one thing, ma'am, here. How would you see, how did you see the teacher of then and you see the teacher of now? What are the new skills that today's teacher need to have?
So definitely today's teacher needs to be like an all-rounder, perhaps with, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 arms, like more than what Durga has. She needs all her arms and all the ammunition that she needs to face the children of today, the parents of today. So a skill which I feel, which the new age teacher must have is empathy, because the teacher's role has vastly changed from what it was a few years back. A few years back, the teacher was expected to come to class, deliver the curriculum, assess and evaluate the students, and that's about it. But a more and more pastoral role, a counseling role, a guide and a mentor role is now expected of teachers. Children go through a lot of scenarios in their homes. They come sometimes from disturbed homes. They come sometimes from homes where both parents are so busy that they have just no one to talk to. We see this more and more often that students are coming up to teachers to say, just listen to me. Even if you don't agree with me, just listen to me. I don't have anyone to share my views with, or I don't have anyone to talk to. So that since the role of the teacher it has evolved, of course the skill set would also evolve. So we need to empathy needs to be at the crux and at the core of a teacher's value systems, and less and less as a knowledge giver. Today, with Wikipedia and Google Scholar, knowledge is just a click of a button away. They don't really need a teacher to tell you that CAT is cat and cat means this is the animal and whatever. They have that information. They need someone to guide them to make sense of the information that they're seeing, and empathy, as I said, collaboration, and to be able to uh, facilitate learning and to be able to inspire and motivate children to be curious. Those are the skills which are needed of teachers, and we need to focus on building those skills in teachers. Of course, I think tech capabilities, it's a given. Without tech capabilities, teachers are not going to be able to function in the online and the hybrid mode, which was not so crucial maybe a few years back. So tech capabilities, empathy, tolerance, a sense of collaboration, a sense of these are the skills which the new age teacher must develop.
Absolutely, ma'am. I totally agree with you. And all the skills that you mentioned, I'm a parent, and I'm sure all the parents, all my viewers will agree that we all can feel those skills that teacher has those, because we could see our children reacting there. They were at times they were extremely irritable. They were not going to school, and then we realized how important is school in their life, how important is the social touches there in their life of teachers and their peers. So yes, very beautifully expressed, ma'am. Teachers need to be empathic today, and in the fast moving pace, children need just an ear to hear. They want someone to listen to them. Wonderfully explained, ma'am, here, and with suffice truly in today's times. So going ahead, ma'am, as I mentioned that your mother was an educator and even she hailed to be a school leader, and so are you. So tell me one thing now. Are there times when you have implemented her recommendations or suggestions at your school or school management?
Some of them, yes. There have been, like, some tricky situations which I seem to have stonewalled, and as how do I deal with this? How do I deal with this parent, or how do I deal with this teacher, or how do I deal with this situation? And sometimes it has worked. Like, for example, there was one tricky parent who had a few things to say about, not very complimentary things to say about a particular teacher, and we would be receiving complaints telephonically or over email about, from this parent. So, and I know for a fact that that teacher was going out of the way to encourage that student in class. And to ensure that he was participative. And I knew that because I had observed her lessons and I knew that this was happening. So I really didn't know how to, how to deal with this parent. So I just, I mean, just sounded it off on my mother and I said, how do you deal with this parent? So she said, just call him to school one day and just listen to him. Maybe he has something to say. Maybe I was doing all this telephonically and over emails. She says sometimes that personal touch helps. And she says, this new generation believes that a telephone call or even a message will suffice when actually we need to hear that human touch, that human interaction. And that can solve a lot of misunderstandings. And believe me, it worked. He came over to school. I offered him a cup of tea and, allowed him to cool down and just listened to him. And at the end of the interaction, he was so positive. And he said, yes, ma'am, I agree. My son, he's a little mischievous. He doesn't listen. And this happens at home too. We are also working on it. So the whole situation was transformed, and I didn't receive any other emails from him after that. So sometimes I think what we miss out with just passing messages or forwards, even she says greetings which are forwarded would make so much sense if you would just call that person for a 5 minutes or something. If it's not possible to visit, COVID times have made it impossible to visit homes as for casual social visits. But I think that was a very valuable lesson that somehow we are so much caught up in the digital world that we as humans we crave for that human interaction.
Certainly, ma'am. In this technological driven world, when everything is virtual, at times you feel isolated from within. Though you have so many virtual friends, but still you lack something. And that, I think your mother very beautifully explained that at times just call the person and interact face to face. So that person carries a feeling within. She took out time just for me. She
Yes,
called
yes.
me. She cares for me. So that is what is missing in today's time. We somewhere, we even on birthdays, we just say WhatsApp, happy birthday, done. If we just make a phone call, I think that would definitely, make a difference. So this is an important take here to all the school leaders out there. If you are struggling with any kind of parental issue, just to call the parents, they will understand certainly. So going ahead in a conversation, ma'am, ma'am, getting acknowledged for your work and efforts and service is a huge positive things in our careers. Each one of us, need that recognition and appreciation. It's not always about monetary terms. It's about being appreciated for the hard work that we did. So, ma'am, I would like to know which was your moment of glory as an educator.
So there have been a few awards or few rewards come my way, I would say, over the past years. But I'm not going to refer to any of those awards or the plaques or the certificates which I'm sure every leader has in their room or in a special section of the school. Yes, those are precious and those are very important for a school leader and for a school. But for me, I think the most precious what for me is there was one of my students who was really struggling through school, and he had a bit of a stammer, and I used to constantly encourage him and say, no, come on, you need to be part of the assembly. You can't this thing and you can't. And the way he blossomed after that, and he went on to become, airline crew, very successful, crew member of a foreign airline. I don't know where he is now. And he wrote me a simple note to say, ma'am, you made a difference to me. Just one line. And I think I cherished that. I still have that. It's not a very fancy written word or something, it's just a small piece of paper. He says, ma'am, you made such a difference to me. Uh, that is what I value the most, more than, of course, there are plaques, there are awards, there are recognitions, but this was something which was very meaningful to me and very dear to me.
Certainly, ma'am. Teaching is the only profession which has the power of shaping lives. And when we have done that, and the student is acknowledging that, no other, appreciation is required there. Certainly, it is your moment of glory. So going ahead in our conversation, ma'am, I'm sure your mother is your inspiration and you always look up to her. But this, as you mentioned, this chair of principal doesn't come with it comes with a crown of thrones, I guess. So, and there are ups and downs, highs and lows. So who is that educationist you look up for advice and support in your tough times?
As leaders, we read a lot and we refer to a lot. We look at pedagogies around the world, and we look at what is the best practices in classrooms around the world. So, one person I feel who can and should make a big this thing is Dr. Howard Gardner with his multiple intelligences theory. And I have read a lot of his work. I've read his books, Frames of Mind and The Unschooled Mind. And so I feel that if we start teaching children in all the different ways that he says, some have musical intelligence, some have spatial intelligence, some have kinesthetic intelligence, some have naturalistic intelligence. And we can't term all of them, we can't evaluate all of them with that one pen and paper test, which in history, math, geography, and we are not testing all the other faculties, or we are not testing all the other abilities. So I feel that if we start working in that direction, children will be much benefited. I'm also doing my doctorate. I'm pursuing my doctorate in the field of naturalistic intelligence from the University of Mumbai. So I feel that we need to nurture these intelligences. We need people who have, it's now established that EQ or emotional quotient is as equal to or even more important than IQ. So, emotional intelligence or interpersonal intelligence, these are the things that we need in the years to come. We need good leaders, good citizens who will think properly, I mean, think with a proper frame of mind, with tolerance. And so I think that, Dr. Howard Gardner would be the person who in the educational world, my icon and my inspiration, and I keep reading and I keep trying to implement as much as possible in my schools. And I think that's the way forward. We need to look at something which evaluates and assesses our children in a different way. The same rubric will not work.
Certainly, ma'am, totally agree to you. And I really like the point where you mentioned that our children needs to be emotionally stable. They need to be, more emotionally aware of the situations around them, and they need to be able to fight every situation and every challenge. So this is, something beyond academics, beyond IQ. We always keep talking about IQ when it comes to school, but along with it, EQ, and I think even spiritual quotient works there. So these both, when are, when it's connected with IQ, that is when we can see, a holistic development of a child happening. So yes, certainly Mr. Howard Gardner has a brilliant philosophy, and following that philosophy will definitely going to make a difference in our generation to come. So on this wonderful note of Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, we reach to the very interesting segment of the show, which is called rapid fire round. Ma'am, here you have to answer in one word or a statement. Yeah? All right. So here goes the first.
And I have to be quick. And I have to be quick.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. All right. So let's begin with the first question here. You spend your recreational time indulging in activities like?
Reading and perhaps watching Netflix.
Netflix, all right. Great. So which is the series you're watching right now?
I'm watching this very interesting series called 14 Peaks. It's a biopic of this Nepali Sherpa called Nirmal Purba, who sets out to conquer 14 peaks above 8,000 meters. So I'm a trekker and a mountaineer. I've done some mountaineering in the lower Himalayas and in the Sahyadri. So I was very interested in that. I have the last bit to go, and I'm very keen to go back home tonight and finish seeing that series. It's very inspirational. 14 Peaks. I'm currently watching that.
Great. So it's good to know a person who reads well, who is the leading a school, who is a great educator, and he is also a mountaineer. Wonderful. Going ahead, ma'am. Tell me a weird or a funny incident in your life.
A funny incident. There are many. Um, okay, I was at an airport and I was waiting in the line to, go towards the boarding gate. And then this little girl came up to me and she hugged me, and she says, Masi, where were you? So, I don't have a sister, so I was wondering, like, whether, and I said, Beta, I'm not your Masi. And she started crying very loudly because she thought that her Masi was not, not recognizing her. She just wouldn't let go. She wanted to hug me and she wanted to, she just wouldn't let go. And the mother didn't know what to do. She said, no, I want to sit with Masi only, and I'm going to sit with her only, and I'm going to go. And I had to hold on to her and go, right up to the boarding gate. And that's when she let go, and then her mother took her away. So this was a little funny because I was wondering, perhaps maybe I had a strong resemblance to her Masi, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. These are such kind of coincidences which just comes all of a sudden in our life, and even we wonder what happened. So going ahead, ma'am, your favorite travel destination is?
Um, I would like to go to the mountains. So my first top of my bucket list is Everest Base Camp.
All right, wonderful. All the best with it, and I'm sure you will do it. Trekking for you is?
The soul of my life.
I knew it was going to come. Your favorite singer and song is?
Singer, I think it has to be probably Hemant Kumar or Manna Dey. Both of them are equally favorite, and I like a lot of all of Hemant Kumar's songs, so I can't pick a favorite.
All right, wonderful. So it was really interesting to know you in this segment. We totally found a different, adventurous self, ma'am's adventurous side here in this segment. So wonderfully answered this. Now going ahead, this brings to me to the last question of the show, which is also called viewer's choice question. My viewers keep sending me a lot of questions, and this one I picked for you. They say that education is a twofold journey. Formal education is acquired through learning framework in schools, and informal education is acquired through social interactions in life. What can we do correctly to encourage a holistic approach to nurture our children?
So I think at the very beginning, we must acknowledge that parents, teachers, and students are all part of this wonderful association. In fact, at the Sri Ram schools, we call it the three-way handshake. We say that we have a three-way handshake with the parents, the school, and the students. And if all of us work together, then we are just going to see uh, the developmental milestones just picking up for the student. And as you said, not all learning will come from the classroom. A lot of learning comes from observing others, from observing behaviors of others, from observing what you watch, what you hear, what you see around you. So provide those kind of experiences to children. Give them healthy conversations, give them good books to read. These are some of the things which I would urge parents to do. Don't just, let them just sit, vegetate in front of a television screen, just passively viewing something. Even if you're viewing something, let there be a conversation around it. Let there be a discussion around it, or let it lead to some other meaningful activity. Uh, Encourage reading, and for that, the parents also have to read. The parent is busy on the phone or busy watching television and saying, "You go and read a book." That's not going to happen. You need to, be exhibit that behavior for the child to be able to, correctly pick up those behaviors. So, in the early years, as the children are growing up, it's very important to put these habits into them, to have good conversations, have a conversation without a phone. Like, I mean, just sit down and discuss things. This is what is needed from parents and from other stakeholders who are part of. They say it takes a village to raise a child. That's not untrue. You need the inputs of so many people to raise the child and to raise a child well.
Very well said, ma'am. You know, children are observer and we need to be role models for them. If we really want our children to shine, we need to set an example for them. And yes, reading is magical. You know, just grab a book, read it with your child. No television, no gadgets, and you see the magic happening there. This habits once developed, it keeps on going. And I think even if a parent just devote 15 minutes, it's enough. Sit with your little one and just start with the reading lessons, just 15 minutes, and you see the changes happening. School keep on doing their bit. We as parents also have a huge onus on our shoulders. They are our kids and we have to do something, just give our precious time to them, and gadget free time, of course. So this was a wonderful tip from ma'am here for all our parents out there. Thank you so much, ma'am. Today, you know, you brought out a very beautiful message from your conversation that we all respect to everyone. And even, you know, even if it is a child, we need to respect them. We need to be empathetic towards them. And we need to teach them also that how we can set an example of being empathetic, because there is a very thin line between sympathy and empathy. So when you practice that, your child learns that. So it was truly an insightful conversation, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time. I thoroughly enjoyed each and every answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Namaste.